Hello. In this lesson, we are going to talk about systems and their applications in the real world, and that usually means word problems. Okay, so we're going to use some of our skills that we learned earlier this year. Okay, so here is the situation. It says Bowl-O-Rama charges $2.50 per game plus $2 for shoe rental, and Bowling Pins charges $2 per game plus $4 for a shoe rental. The first thing we have to do is write a system of equations to represent this situation above. Now, maybe you recall from our days doing linear functions that when you see this word per right here, that kind of helps you figure out a few things. If you can identify that word, the thing in front of it is your m, your slope. The thing after it represents your x. Okay, so that's a pretty good indication that both of these are, or at least this first one is in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we can think about that a little bit for the next one. So it says Bowling Pins charges $2 per game. So again, thinking this is my m and this is my x. And then it says plus $4 for shoe rental. So really what this means to you is they are both in this form. So you really kind of want to look for that word per or each. Sometimes that's another thing, but per is kind of common. So if we write a system, we know that they're both going to be in slope-intercept form. So let's do Bowl-O-Rama first. Bowl-O-Rama charges $2.50 per game plus $2 for a shoe rental. Okay, so that's our first one. Let's do our other one here. Our Bowling Pins says $2 per game plus $4 for a shoe rental. So y equals 2x plus $4 for a shoe rental. Okay, now before you go any further, you want to kind of identify what x and y are. So I'm going to do that over here. So x, okay, we said right above that first one, we said x represents the number of games. Okay, and then let's do y. What is y? Well, in the rest of this, you can see it's really talking about money. They don't really say it straight out, but you might notice in part B, it also kind of says right here. So that might be a tip for you if you're not really sure. Look at the question and see. So y is cost. So these are the two things I would strongly recommend that you write down what x and y equal or what they are, because otherwise you might get confused when you're answering these questions. Okay, so now we have our system. You'll notice they're both in slope-intercept form. So your last assignment, you have to figure out what's the best way to solve systems and what they look like. In this case, that would be by graphing. So we're going to use our graphing calculator. So I'm going to open that up. Okay. Oops. All right, here we go. All right, so the first equation, we're going to go y equals and type that in. 2.50x plus 2. The second equation was $2 per game plus 4 for a shoe rental. And we're going to go to graph. Okay, now it looks like it actually is a little bit off the graph. That's okay. Even if the lines aren't sure, you should always, if it looks like they don't even cross, maybe it's they cross off the graph. So still do the same thing you usually do and do the second trace, 5. These will cross, but it's probably a little bit off the graph. We won't be able to see the intersection, but it does tell us what the intersection is. It's 4, 12. Okay, so let's write that down. So this is not our answer yet. We have to figure out what goes where. So we have 4, 12. So let's look at what part B says. It says, how many games will it take for the cost to be the same at both places? So they're saying how many games. Remember, we wrote up here, games is x. So how many games will it take? Well, x is 4. So we're going to write that here, 4 games. So just having this ordered pair is not enough. We actually have to answer the question. So we can't just write 412. That won't work here. But I like to write it off to the side and then figure out where this stuff goes. All right, so then what is the cost? Well, we said up here that the cost was y, and you can see here our y is 12. So 12 and then 12 what? Well, in this case, cost usually measured in dollars, so it's $12. Okay, so that's how you do a system word problem when both of the equations are in slope-intercept form. In our next video, we'll talk about another way to go about it. Okay, hope that helps and makes sense. See ya.